Have you ever heard the claim that the Earth is flat? Sounds bizarre, but hundreds of thousands of people around the world believe it's true. And it's one of the oldest conspiracy theories out there. Good evening, my name is Maia Mazurkiewicz and welcome to the Anatomy of Disinformation. Conspiracy theories are there to erode trust, polarize societies and sow chaos. They are often used as offensive weapons, for example, by the Kremlin to support their foreign policy. But they can affect each and every one of us. In times of uncertainty, we all long for clarity, and that's what conspiracy theories often give us. We can be part of a special group that knows better, but do we know why we need that from a psychological perspective? Our guest joins us to explain.
Hallie Stern, co-founder and president of Optica Labs. She specializes in human signal dynamics and socio-technical design, focusing on how human interactions with emerging technologies shape and influence global societal dynamics. Her work aims to address challenges to democratic stability while advancing effective technological solutions that enhance economic well-being.
Hallie, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. Straight from Washington, D.C.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and today we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories. You're doing a lot of research on the influence operations, and conspiracy theories are a big part of this influence.
Conspiracy theories are built into every piece of media that you might see, whether you realize it or not. Usually there is an 80-20 rule or lapse. It'll be about 80% true in anything that you read, with 20% that is speculative. And it's really, really difficult to get to straight facts because editorials are usually opinion-based. They're always built by people and their opinions. So there will always be something slipped in, whether it's a cultural nuance or not, that may or may not lead into trending conspiracies. And of course, the more you see something or hear something, the more likely you are to believe it across channels. So it's a really sneaky way to get an idea or a conspiracy in front of the masses with any targeted market.
Is there a usual way of how they are starting? Is it like coming from a gossip? Is it a group of people that is, working on what to think about?
Not necessarily. It's usually starts with a seed, with multiple people starting to glom onto that seed from different perspectives. So the way that it would work would be the same story in a different context. So humans have 5 to 7 neurolinguistic processors in our brains responsible for short-term processing. And surprise, it also happens to be a marketing metric. And so when you want to start to seed a conspiracy or get a story in front of different people, you want to get it in 5 to 7 different contexts across different platforms, especially online or hard magazines or TV, because you start to recognize it and not even realize that you're recognizing it subconsciously. So when you're pushing out a campaign, for example, you might start with a targeted group of people. Think Cambridge Analytica, think marketing metrics. You want to have a targeted cohort that you think will be the cohort that most likely will believe this or lean into it. Usually it's because it's part of their cultural makeup. And you'll start to get the story through thought leaders within that community in front of different people over and over again. It could be a political figure, it can be an artist, it can be someone at a university or a school publishing a paper who's doing research into a topic that they truly believe is real, but might actually be seeded by a conspiracy. And then as you have more of these thought leaders promote it and push it out, more people will glommer onto it and they'll think, oh, hey, I saw this, or I heard this, or my teacher said this, or I've seen this before. And that's usually how you start to see it spread even more to different cohorts.
And then you even can have people going into Capitol, as it happened a few years ago in the United States.
Yes, yep. It's really interesting. When it comes to politics in the United States, just because somebody is in a position of leadership doesn't mean they're an expert in a specific area. There are often people around political leaders, at least in the Washington, D.C. area and everywhere really, that advise on what the trends are, what cultural nuances are. And if you look at conspiracies historically, not just in the age of like AI or what's happening digitally, you look at reflexive control, you look at how different like Russian influence operations have spread, at least through the United States. They look for that common hole in society. They look for that bruise and push that bruise. What is the gap and how are people going to respond to it? And that's what a lot of political leaders glom onto, and what the conversation starts to form about. And then you should think of it as a herald, which is a form of play, right? You start with a simple idea. You do the idea a second time around, but you heighten it. And then you do a third idea where everything is completely out of control. And that out of control part of the herald play becomes the baseline for the next conspiracy. And this has been true for decades, especially with like in the 80s, the AIDS conspiracy, the moral majority. That was a gap in society, a bruise in society that was already happening, that it was really easy to start to push information out about because people were already very charged about it.
And there are some old, well-known conspiracy theories like flat Earth. But what are the conspiracy theories that you're seeing right now and that they are gaining the ground?
Oh my gosh. One recently is actually the sovereign citizen movement, which I think is amazing. It's citizens who believe that they can claim themselves as their own country to get out of like paying taxes or parking tickets or taking responsibility. And so they'll go to an embassy, renounce their citizenship in the United States, be stateless because they believe that is part of their right to be a stateless citizen in the United States and that it makes them above the law. So that's something that's been picking up recently on top of, every other conspiracy that is trending on TikTok. We have the Epstein files, right? That's still a big thing here. And then politically, both sides of the political spectrum truly believe what they hear about the other side, which is driving more and more division between the two.
So polarization is fueling the conspiracy theories.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, right? So it's also a group identity. When you are a member of a certain political party, you need to agree and be a part of that group in order to stay within that group, or you are often kicked out of that group. And this is also another tribal human trait.
We all want to belong, and that's a group that can give us kind of comfort.
Exactly. It's very tied to identity, especially if it's two-sided, right? In the United States, we have a two-party system, and that makes it really easy to create a villain out of the other side. As humans, we are story-making machines. And so if someone is not like us or with us, they're against us. And that leaves very little room for anything in the middle to discuss what really is true and what isn't. And there sometimes is a nugget of truth in some of, I don't want to say there's a nugget of truth in conspiracies, but usually they start as something that's very baseline and then get expanded so out of control that it becomes this unbelievable conspiracy that's not even anywhere close to where it started. And a lot of that does come from polarization, just making things bigger and bigger and bigger. That's that herald play that I was talking about earlier.
And you talked about some social media platforms. Are the conspiracy theories gaining ground in most of them, all of them, or are there specific ones that are fueling more to those narratives? And maybe another question that is based on this is if we are talking about conspiracy theories, are there also the accounts or leaders that are pushing those, and if they are repeating, for example, different conspiracy theories in their accounts?
So this is a tough question. So it happens. Social media platforms are a catalyst, right? It's not so easy to say Facebook's bad, X is bad, TikTok is bad. What's bad is the way that they're plugged in on the back end, when you interact with an application on any level and you don't read the privacy agreement when you download that application, you're giving it access to everything else that's happening in your phone. That can be your demographics, psychographics, behavioral information, where you're located, what you're looking at, not necessarily who you're talking to, but who you're in proximity with and what they're looking at, which makes it really easy to jump from one platform to another platform with the same conspiracy that maybe seems to follow you. And that's when you start to get the idea that, oh, my cell phone is listening to me. Well, no, it's not necessarily listening to you in that way. It's inferring you, and it's able to push a story across different platforms based on that, knowing that you're using these Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X on your phone or on your computer, and making those differentiation. That's how the behavioral analysis on the back end works. When it comes to certain groups, yeah, there are absolutely, we have QAnon in the United States. I'm sure, there are...
We have it in Europe already as well.
Yeah. So there are people within those groups that do push it further. And it's frankly really easy to jump into a social group and start to spread a rumor. Anyone can do it. I actually had a colleague a couple years ago jump in. I'm not going to say exactly which one because I don't want to get in trouble, but was able to jump into a Facebook group and spread a conspiracy just to see how easy it was. I think he jumped into a conversation. The conversation left Facebook, went to Reddit. People from Reddit and users were creating content through Telegram and WhatsApp, and then making its way to Instagram. And he would put $5, $10 behind, promoting something out as sponsored, just like as a catalyst, and it would spread like wildfire.
And with AI, it's getting ever easier and easier. Thank you so much, Hallie, for joining us. Thank you. As the world becomes more globally interconnected, conspiracy theories are popping up like mushrooms. Many of them want you to believe in a mysterious cabal that pulls the strings behind world events. Let's take a look into the inner workings of conspiracy theories in our report.
This man is many things, and apart from being the US president, some people are convinced he's also an agent of the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation.
So the conspiracy generally takes the shape that Donald Trump was cultivated as a Russian or Soviet intelligence asset starting in the 80s, doing business dealings in Moscow.
While Russia did release a swarm of trolls and created tens of thousands of media profiles designed to amplify divisive political issues to promote Donald Trump's presidential candidacy at the expense of Hillary Clinton's in 2016, the US president has not been found guilty of espionage.
We expected that this was our man, almost straight out of the FSB, and it turns out that he's been putting a spanner in our works.
But that's not the only conspiracy theory that has many scratching their heads. Have you heard that Russia's president is seriously ill, if not dead altogether? And the Putins we've been seeing in official settings are actually his body doubles. Or how about the one claiming that Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, the Polish astronaut who boarded the International Space Station in late June 2025, never actually accomplished this feat? Treat this conspiracy as a rehashed version of the US faking the moon landing. Then there's the one claiming that 5G technology is lethal, and another one that the Earth is flat.
When we realize that we are on a flat Earth, we find out that the world will not end.
In the same basket, you'll also find the COVID-19 vaccine conspiracy, claiming that what people were actually injected with were chips designed to either control their minds or modify them genetically.
They genetically manipulate tomatoes and cucumbers and etc. And they told me this is the same technology and they use this on us.
On top of that, conspiracy theorists claim that wind turbines contribute to birth defects, fatigue, or cancer, and that politicians promote inefficient technologies for cynical financial reasons.
Some made a fortune from the wind turbine birdmincers. That's quite a German fifth column mentally.
One of Poland's most famous conspiracies is that Slavs have not only lived in Poland since at least the Bronze Age, but also that Adam and Eve spoke Polish, and the only reason why this knowledge isn't mainstream is that the history textbooks were written by Germans. When you recall Russia's narratives of pan-Slavism with Moscow at the helm, it's clear why such theories are easily hijacked by political actors, and their most vulnerable targets are democracies, with their key pillars of free speech.
5G, the anti-vaccination movement, QAnon, and the stolen 2020 election are just a few of the conspiracy theorists used in political communication. You'll find them on TikTok, Telegram, and other alternative media. What are the tools and methods used to spread conspiracy theories? Let's talk about that and more with our guest.
Professor Jan-Willem van Prooijen, head of the social psychology section at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. He is endowed professor of radicalization, extremism, and conspiracy thinking at Maastricht University, and a senior researcher at the Netherlands Institute for the Study of Crime and Law Enforcement. His main research interests include conspiracy theories, populism, radical ideologies, and human morality.
Jan-Willem, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today, straight from Amsterdam.
Hello.
Hello, we're talking today about conspiracy theories, so why they are working?
Yeah, so conspiracy theories often come up in distressing times. It is a tool for people to simplify a complex reality and make sense of that reality. So it helps people understand how distressing situations emerge, who their enemies are, and it's a way for people to make sense of their world, pretty much.
And they are giving the sense of safety as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't say safety, more a sense of understanding. It can be pretty terrifying to believe in conspiracy theories. It's a belief that there's a group of evil people out there with no other purpose than to harm you and fellow citizens. So I wouldn't say it makes people feel safe. It is something that people are more likely to believe in when they feel unsafe. As sort of a defense mechanism. I think it's an evolutionary built-in defense mechanism to be extra suspicious when there's possible danger in the environment, and a tool for people to identify who the enemies are and who to watch out for. So it doesn't make people feel safe, but it is a tool to achieve safety. That's I think a good way to put it.
Achieve safety for a individual human being, right? But at the times of the uncertainty, do you see that there is more and more conspiracy theories? You're working with the topic and researching them for quite some time already.
Yeah. Well, you see them particularly popping up in uncertain times. So this can, for instance, be a pandemic. It can be a time of a lot of international conflict. It can also simply be a time of rapid societal changes. Think of rapid technological changes, for instance. These are all situations where people become more susceptible for conspiracy theories. Yeah.
And would you say that some of them are working on the kind of different mechanism, or all of them are very much working on the same mechanism, also from the psychological perspective?
No, I don't think they all work according to the same mechanism. There's certain features of conspiracy theories that determine how they work. So, for instance, it matters a lot whether or not people believe conspiracy theories about their own government or, for instance, about a foreign nation. So when people believe conspiracy theories about a foreign nation, for instance, they tend to support their own political system more. But when people believe conspiracy theories about their own government, they start to actually become more critical and cynical about their own political system. So, yeah, it's not the case that every conspiracy theory is the same and that all conspiracy theories are alike. It's not one homogeneous concept. It's quite heterogeneous. So different conspiracy theories can have different effects.
Are you seeing that some of them are gaining more believers than the others? And if so, maybe you can name some.
So I must say that there have been some studies on this topic on the question whether or not conspiracy theories have increased over time. These actually haven't really shown much evidence that there's a stable trend towards more conspiracy beliefs over time. At the same time, there are a couple of indicators in society suggesting that some conspiracy theories have gained traction. One of them, I think, is conspiracy theories about childhood vaccines. That is something that we can, of course, see in the decreasing vaccination rates in a lot of countries. This is probably not only due to conspiracy theories, but also to other factors. Think of misinformation about these vaccines. But I also definitely think conspiracy theories have played a role in that. Again, it's not something that is probably the case for all conspiracy theories. Think of, for instance, conspiracy theories that are more general about, for instance, that there's an evil elite in the country trying to suppress citizens. There's not clear evidence that that's increasing. So it depends.
Were there any conspiracy theories that, became true or happened to be true? And that's...
Yes, definitely. I mean, conspiracy theories are nothing more than a theory that people might be conspiring. It doesn't necessarily say that conspiracy theories always are necessarily false. There have been definitely conspiracies in history or conspiracy theories that turned out true. A key example is, for instance, Watergate. The burglary in the Watergate Hotel happened in 1972. And in 1974, Nixon resigned. But in between the time, in 1973, there were already a lot of rumors in American society that Nixon was personally involved or, personally knew what had been going on. So at that point in time, you could say that was a conspiracy theory, but it turned out true. I mean, there's plenty of examples of actual conspiracies, also in more recent history. Think of the FIFA corruption scandal, think of the Volkswagen diesel scandal. True conspiracies exist.
But there are also the ones that are used by various governments or groups of people to actually kind of influence others. And especially during the times of new media, social media and algorithms, they are gaining more traction. And that's also based on the emotional way of how people think, right?
Yeah, I think the design of social media platforms caters to these basic emotional needs and actually facilitates the spread of conspiracy theories in various different ways. So first of all, conspiracy theories are relatively simple and powerful ideas that gain a lot of attention, so they can be really popular to spread in so these closed groups in these echo chambers. One thing that we know from research is that online people are not necessarily only looking for truth. They're also looking for social validation, social attention. Think of likes, likes on Facebook, for instance. And people can get that very easily by spreading conspiracy theories about political opponents. If a conspiracy theory is socially popular, if it can gain a lot of traction, it can also be picked up by algorithms, which exacerbate the problem. I don't think algorithms, unlike is often assumed, is the key or the main problem, but it definitely also contributes to it. I think the design of social media makes the spread of facilitates the spread of conspiracy theories and also makes it relatively easy for these theories to reach a relatively broad audience in a short amount of time.
Even if some of the people believe that the Earth is flat. And I have a question to you. How can we protect ourselves from the conspiracy theories, especially from the psychological perspective?
So your question is, how can we protect ourselves from conspiracy beliefs? So I think one important factor is analytical thinking. So thinking rationally. There are ways you can, things you can do to train yourself how to recognize unreliable sources. So you can, for instance, look up the sources. Conspiracy influencers use a couple of techniques that are very common. Think of, for instance, the false dichotomy. That's the idea that you present reality as two choices. If you don't think this is true, then apparently think that is true. So you can learn how to recognize the manipulative techniques of conspiracy influences, and that's it's called inoculation or pre-bunking in psychological science, and that's an important skill to have.
Thank you so much, Jan-Willem, and we are looking forward for more research and understanding why we believe in conspiracy theories.
You're welcome.
We all seek safety and hope. Conspiracy theories offer an illusion of that. They can feel comforting, even if they are false. But do we really want to be fooled? If not, let that be your line of defense. Next time you see a narrative like that, keep calm and think deeply.